10th graders. My name is Dr. Munca-Aftenev, and I would like to welcome you in our digital library. Today, we are going to talk about eco-citizenship. We're going to learn about a lot of very interesting examples of cities around the world and countries taking measures to become more eco-friendly. Also, we're going to learn a lot of vocabulary that you need to use when you talk about your attempts to be a greener citizen. What does that mean? Let's watch together this video lesson and learn about eco-citizenship. Now, what do all these words have in common? Electric waste, deforestation, organic agriculture, renewable energies, global warming, pollution, biodiversity, international solidarity. All these words refer to the attempt made by organizations, cities, countries, and citizens all around the world to become more environmental friendly. What does it mean? It's very important for us to protect our planet and to think about measures that we can take today so that the future is more better for our children and for ourselves as well, because we only have one planet and we need to take very good care of it. Now, let me tell you about a project that I have been working on with my students in the past 5 or 6 years. The name of the project is Zero Footprint Youth Calculator. As you can see on the slide, there are a few questions that we address all the participants in this project. Usually these are school students, so we usually ask them, how do you travel to school? Do you walk? Do you take a bike? Or are your parents driving you to school? How about food? How often do you buy food from the stores? How often do you eat in restaurants? And how often do you eat at home and cook homemade foods? How about waste? How much trash do you throw away? How about the electricity? How much electricity do you use in your house? Do you have 1, 2, or 3 TVs? Do you have 1, 2, or 3 computers in your apartment or in your house? So what do all these questions have in common? They tell us how much of the planet resources you are using in your home. This is the first step for us to understand what the footprint term refers to. And it refers to the energy that you consume in your household together with your parents and your siblings. So these are the questions that we have to think of when we refer to eco-citizenship. How much do we walk? How much do we use a bike or the public transportation? Of course, it's very important to use more public transportation, to walk, or to use the bikes rather than drive a car, because cars pollute the environment, and you know that very well. Another example, how many clothes do you buy? Do you need new clothes every season? Or do you have basic clothes that you combine with 1 or 2 new pieces and wear them on a regular basis? Another good question is, do you buy more meat or vegetables? As you know, if you buy more meat, this means that there needs to be more farms and more animals that would provide that meat for you. And as you know, animals eat a lot of, for example, vegetation, which means if we have a lot of animals that we use for meat, mass production meat, then we consume more energy of our planet compared to the fact when we just simply eat vegetables and eat more vegetarian food. Another good question is, do you buy food in kilograms or do you like foods that are presented in pretty packages? Well, pretty packages are usually thrown away. So the question is it worth spending the money on a pretty package that isn't used, on a long term, but we only use to store the food and then we wrap the package and we throw it away? So if you look at all these questions, it actually helps us understand that if we save the planet's energy on a daily basis, if we walk more, if we eat more fruit and vegetables, if we don't buy many things like clothes all the time, then we can definitely help our planet to preserve its resources. Let's have a look at some of more examples. So, did you know, for example, that in the past 50 years, humans have consumed more resources than in all previous history? Half of the world's tropical and temperate forests are now gone. half of the forest. Think about that. 75% of marine fisheries, which means all the fishes, the types of fish that we can find in the marine waters, are now overfished or fished to capacity, which means they might disappear. This data comes from United States Environmental Protection Agency. I think if we look at these numbers, we should definitely consider this as a very serious threat to the health of our planet. Between 1950 and 2005, worldwide metals production grew sixfold, which means 6 times. Oil consumption, 8-fold, so we consume 8 times more oil. And natural gas consumption, 14-fold. In total, 60 billion tons of resources are now extracted annually, about 50% more than just 30 years ago. What does this mean? This means that we are consuming our planet's resources without thinking about the consequences. As you can understand, these resources are not endless, and at some point they might end, which means that our children and our grandchildren might suffer the consequences of our unstoppable consumption-related trends. Now, let's talk about an ecological footprint. An ecological footprint is how much of the earth we use for food, clothing, play, energy, shelter, or waste. Ecological footprints can be calculated for an individual, a family, a city, or entire countries. The ecological footprint calculations are simply estimates of an inventory of how much of the Earth's renewable and non-renewable resources we use. So I think it's pretty easy, and you know now what the ecological footprint refers to is a calculation, a number of how much of the planet's resources we are using. Global footprint analysis indicates that over the last 40 years or more, humanity's cumulative ecological footprint appears to have surpassed Earth's ecological limits. This is not sustainable in the long term. At our current consumption rate, there is not enough Earth to meet our demands, and there is an exclamation sign there. We live in an era where there is an imperative to shrink our ecological footprints. To shrink means to become smaller in size. Now, let's talk about some examples, organizations and individuals and countries as well that are very eco-friendly and consider this problem a major one. Greenpeace. I'm sure everybody has heard about Greenpeace. Founded in Vancouver in 1971, Greenpeace operates in more than 40 countries around the world with headquarters in Amsterdam. I didn't know that, for example. They have more than 89 supporters in Canada and 2.5 million members worldwide. As you can see, this is a very big and serious organization. Greenpeace is an independent campaigning organization which uses non-violent, creative confrontation to expose global environmental problems and to force the solutions which are essential to a green and peaceful future. Greenpeace's goal is to ensure the ability of the Earth to nurture life in all its diversity. Therefore, Greenpeace seeks to protect biodiversity in all its forms, prevent pollution and abuse of the Earth's ocean, land, air, and fresh water, end all nuclear threats, and promote peace, global disarmament, and non-violence. I believe this is a very strong objective and definitely not an easy one to achieve, but I'm sure Greenpeace, with all the millions of supporters around the world, will be able to do that. Some interesting things to know. The world's top 10 most green, clean air, climate-conscious countries are in Europe. We're also in Europe, so that's good news for us. According to the researchers at Yale and Columbia universities, who rank the world's nations on eco-friendliness every 2 years. Unfortunately, the US only ranks 24, so they need to work on that. Top of all top 10 performers in the eco chart is Denmark, followed by Luxembourg, Switzerland, the United Kingdom, France, Austria, Finland, Sweden, Norway, and Germany. So, my dear 10th graders, these are the champions of ecology. These are countries that are excellent examples of nations that pay special attention to our planet. How does it happen? Let's take a more specific example. I'm sure you know about the city of Copenhagen. Where in the world can you swim in a busy urban harbor, ski down the roof of a green energy power station, drive a solar-powered boat, stay in an eco-friendly hotel, and dine on organic food on every street corner? The answer is Copenhagen, the world's greenest major city. This city, by the way, is planning to become carbon neutral by 2025. So it's not just beautiful plans and amazing inspiring words and quotes and citations, it's about a specific plan that Copenhagen is working on. So how does it happen? Why is Copenhagen the greenest city in the world? The city itself turns waste into energy rather than throwing it away to supply tens of thousands of homes and businesses. I think that's a very good option, to take the trash and turn it into energy. All buses are changing from diesel to electric. And you know that diesel is very harmful to our air, and it's very difficult to breathe in cities that are very overcrowded. More and more road surfaces are devoted to cycling. So Copenhagen is encouraging all its citizens to ride bikes. Even members of parliament are pedaling to work daily. So a lot of members of the parliament in Copenhagen have bikes and they don't need expensive cars to travel to work. You can rent an electric bike at low cost, and canal boats have electric, solar power engines and are made from wood from sustainable resources. Doesn't that look like a wonderful plan to become a green city? I'm sure a lot of cities around the world should take a good look at Copenhagen's plan to become carbon-free and implement some of its initiatives in different countries and different places around the world. Now, let's look at the other end, and I selected a few examples of the opposite experiences. Cities that unfortunately don't pay attention to the planet and to the environment. Ethiopia has one of the worst sanitation problems in Africa. And as you can see in the pictures that I prepared for you, Nigeria has poor waste systems that continue to pollute their water. So it's very, very polluted, the rivers and the water that is used by the citizens. Congo has a mass unloading of raw sewage into the city's water. Sewage refers to what we throw in the waters, in the rivers, in the city. And China, by the way, is also filled with overpollution and litter. Okay, litter is another word for trash. So some regions in China are really full of trash. India has extreme pollution, dirty rivers, and terrible road drainage system. Pakistan is considered one of the most polluted countries on earth, and these images prove that. Now, my dear 10th graders, what can we do as citizens, as simple young people, school students or teachers, to raise awareness about this very important issue? What are the eco actions that we can take? So, for example, children, they can learn eco actions. They can recycle, they can save water and electricity in their homes. They can take care of the nature. They can lower the radiators when they leave the class at the end of the day. When in the park, they can make sure that everyone takes care of the grass and the trees. They don't throw trash away. They are careful about how much they eat, how much they throw away, how much electricity they use. Now, it's time to learn some key vocabulary related to our topic. Biodiversity. A large number and wide range of species of animals, plants, fungi, and microorganisms. Ecologically, wide biodiversity makes ecosystems stronger and more resilient to change. So, in order for us to have a beautiful green planet, we need to pay special attention to the biodiversity, which means we need to make sure that different species don't disappear and we don't kill the animals and we don't fish out the various species of fishes in the oceans and in the seas. Climate change, a regional change in temperature and weather patterns. Current science indicates a discernible link between climate change over the last century and human activity, specifically the burning of fossil fuels. So climate change, as you can see in the picture, this is the change in temperature and weather patterns. Fossil fuel, this is a fuel such as coal, oil, and natural gas produced by the decomposition of ancient, which means fossilized, plants and animals. If we consume all the fossil fuels, it's going to end at some point, and we will not have other sources of energies if we don't start working on that right now, like renewable energies. And when I say renewable, I refer to wind or solar energies that are renewable, which means they never end. Biofuel, a fuel produced from dry organic matter or combustible oils produced by plants. Examples of biofuel include alcohol from fermented sugar, biodiesel from vegetable oil, and wood. Carbon footprint. We talked about the ecological footprint at the beginning of the lesson. A representation of the effect human activities have on the climate in terms of the total amount of greenhouse gases they produce, measured in units of carbon dioxide. I'm sure you know what carbon dioxide is because you're also studying chemistry. So all the effect of the human activities, right, on the climate can be measured, and this is called the carbon footprint. Ecosystem is an interconnected and symbiotic grouping of animals, plants, fungi, and microorganisms. So all of that together we call an ecosystem. What does it mean? It means that we depend on all the species of animals and plants that are on our planet. We don't live alone, which means we have to take care of all the other elements of the ecosystem. Deforestation. I know it's a difficult word, so let's break it down in parts. Deforestation. Cutting down trees to use the land as something other than a forest means deforestation. It means that you're cutting the trees. Composting. Biologically degrading materials such as leaves and manure to create a mixture of organic matter that is used to improve soil structure and provide nutrients, right? Decomposing. This is happening every fall when the leaves are decomposing, and so in the spring, the earth is very good to grow other plants. This is one example of composting. And now at the end, I have a really nice prophecy that I would like to share with you. Only when the last tree has been cut down, only when the last river has been poisoned, only when the last fish has been caught, only then will you find that money cannot be eaten. Thank you for your time. I hope you found this lesson really useful, and I'm sure that all these examples convinced you to become more eco-friendly and to initiate eco-actions, as we call them, because we only have one planet and it's very important for us to protect it. I hope you learned a lot of useful vocabulary that you can use next time when you discuss important issues related to ecology, pollution, deforestation, and the importance of preserving our ecosystem. Have a good day, and please stay tuned for more wonderful video lessons that we place in our digital library. All the best.